Danilo, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to take a second to introduce you. Danilo and I have been friends. We met on LinkedIn, and since then we've become great friends. Danilo, in 2024, you funded 19 million. This is only your fourth year in the industry, and you've always been self-gen. You just became a branch manager, and you hired your first LO, so congratulations. But what you're really most proud of, and what I really want to dig in today, is that this is one of the hardest year in your career. You had a really slow start, but you turned it around and you've been able to fund 10 million just in the past 4 months alone. And by the way, this is December, so these are some of the slowest months of the year. Let's start from there. What happened this year?
Yeah, you know what? It took me a while to figure out exactly what happened because it's sometimes it's really difficult to start looking inside. But yeah, I started this year thinking that it was going to be an amazing year. I had a strong finish to 2019, and I think it got a little bit to my head, to be honest with you. I think I just I focused too much on the sales part and not so much on making sure that things are moving along the right way, which I believe that's around the time that we also got to talk about processes and how to do move the applications in the right manner. And all of the sudden things just completely collapsed on me. Like, didn't know what happened. I was like, oh my God, like I went from having an amazing pipeline to all of a sudden nothing was working. Loans were falling off. And it was a tough period. Yeah, it was definitely a tough period. But I'm glad to say that, after a few months, I was able to just get back up, and now things are looking very good. Things are looking very good for sure.
To put that in perspective, you had 7 million in your pipeline in January and February, and how much of that 7 million closed?
Really about 3 million.
3 million. So more than
Yeah.
half fell off in the first 2 months of the year. And then I remember it was very slow for you because you started to go into, let me save my loans, let me save the paycheck. And the prospecting, I remember, slowed down. So it took you till April, May to really start to get back into the groove of things. Is that right?
Yeah, because it's really like it's like you dig yourself in a hole, you go into a hole, and then
Yeah.
instead of like mentally saying, okay, I need to keep doing the right things that got me here, you become desperate. And then, there are some things that you just cannot control. Let's face it. There are some things that, there was a deal that the guy just left because he lost his job,
Yeah.
so he wasn't feeling comfortable, and he couldn't qualify anymore. So there are things that were out of my control. But the fact that once you start seeing the amount of deals die, a good amount of deals die, then you become desperate and you stop doing what got you there. And
Yeah.
and that's mentally, it's really tough. At least I've always said sales, it's mostly mental. We're in this business, and it's a tough business. And most of the time, it's about how you handle the tough times. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. How do you stay mentally strong?
You know what? I have a really good support system in my house, honestly.
Okay.
My wife is amazing, and she's not in sales, but she has quite a tough job, so she understands that sometimes there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? It just, every time I go home, I see my kids, and I know, like, hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about how you got in the industry and what you did to grow your business. So put us like 4 years ago when you're just starting out. What are you doing to build your business?
The first thing I did was pick up my phone and literally call everyone I knew and simply introduce myself and say, listen, I'm in the mortgage business. This is what I do. I can help you refinance, purchase, etc. And and that got me like a really good jump start. I remember just right off the bat, the first couple of months, just being able to cross $2 million. I got my license in July, and then in September, I did about 2.1, which it felt like, wow, this
Yeah.
is great. And then and then you start realizing that there's a lot more than just sales to this, you know. There's a
Yeah.
lot more than just sales, and but yeah, the biggest thing I tell people, and you know, anytime I talk to other loan officers that are starting, is like you have to like this is a people business. You know, the more people you know, the more people the more sales that you're gonna get.
Yep.
So let's face it, pretty much everyone needs to buy a house
Mhm.
or needs to refinance or needs to do something like that. That just, you know, it's kind of like insurance, right? You need insurance no matter what. So what you need to do is be able to let people know what you do and do it in a manner that aligns with your values and your goals and everything else. Yeah. So yeah, definitely that was pretty much it. It was just getting on the phone and just blowing up everyone's phone, telling them, hey, I'm in business. Let's do it.
So I'm actually really curious. How many contacts? Do you remember how many contacts you had in your phone and how many calls you made? Because this is brilliant.
So I actually do. And I do because I was just working on my CRM when I moved to a new company. I started working on the CRM and on a whole different plan that maybe I'll touch base later. But yeah, I had 727,
Okay. You
and
had or you have right now?
I had
Okay.
right now after 4 years, I have 20 seats, 12,
Awesome.
2,612.
So like you almost 4x your contacts.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of my background, so I used to work at Chase for about 13 years. Yeah, I think 13 years. And one of the great things I learned at Chase was that, hey, you just gotta be on top of people. You just have to follow up.
Mhm.
And then everyone's gonna come and ask for some business, and you just have to be there.
Yeah.
So I got very good at making sure that I constantly follow up with everyone I know.
So
And
good.
it's I mean that's I just need to be there when the right time comes, and they just have to remember, hey, Danny Ariza, that's what he does. That's pretty much it.
So I want to go deeper into the follow-up. Do you have a system for your follow-up, or is it just like you go look at your phone and just say like, I haven't talked to this person, let me call them?
So I do have a system, and that's actually one of the reasons why I had such a tough time at the beginning of the year, because I got away from that system.
Okay.
You know, I always made sure to just either, whether it was Instagram, I use a lot of Instagram, whether it was just a phone or a text message, I always make sure to follow, to just contact someone at least twice a year. And then there are some people that you know, you call it hot. You know, you'll go ahead and contact me once a quarter at least. So so yeah, and then you know, I create my automations on my CRM, just have the follow-ups all the time there. You know, if I just need to, okay, this guy closed, I know I have to call him in 6 weeks to tell him about the payment. And you know, it's just a 2-minute call. But yeah, it's I have a pretty good system when it comes to follow-ups that honestly has allowed me to grow my business without having to go after real estate agents, which is probably my biggest opportunity, you know. So
So your business, where is it coming from? Like, what are your top two sources of business?
my contacts, honestly,
Just
I
like,
would say,
mm,
I mean, as this year, the first couple of years, I would say it was more like a 90-10, where like 90% of my business was really my contacts. And now it's becoming more around 70 as I start building up uh, relationships with real estate agents. So that is the biggest opportunity I have. That's where I'm mostly excited about, because I feel like hey, you know, I have the pieces, the foundation to now start going after, you know, sources of referrals. Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think is your foundation? Because one thing I've been really impressed with is how much knowledge you've been able to accumulate. What do you think is the foundation for you that now you can build on and go get like financial advisors and realtors and have them trust you so deeply?
You just got to know what you're doing. You got to know. So you got to always put the customer first. That's the first thing. Always go above and beyond. And always be prepared. Well, actually, the last one, which I think this is the biggest reason why people come to me, is because I take responsibility for everyone, every file.
Yeah.
It's we're in an industry where there's so many things go wrong, and so many people actually just disappear when things are hard. And people notice that.
Yeah.
So when people come to me, and I have built that reputation of with agents, with my contacts, where it's like, okay, you know what, maybe things are not working out the way we wanted it, but Danny's there, and he's making sure that he's going to put his face, and he's going to make the calls when things are wrong. He's going to try to find solutions. So that's really like my biggest thing, because yeah, people always call me for anything, and it's because they know that I'll be there at least just to give them some type of solution.
Yeah, you know what you're doing and you have insane work ethic. Is it okay if I shared what you said right before we started the podcast, before it
Yeah,
started?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, like, I love how like you had a full working day yesterday, and then you took one of your best realtors out because you have to do that in this business, and
Yeah,
then you know one of the top financial advisors in your region, so you started hanging out with him as well, and then you go home, and then you have a sick daughter, and you take care of your daughter all night, and then you wake up, take care of loans, and now you are here on this podcast like 9:30 your time, and you're doing this insane work ethic, and like that is like when you take responsibility, you really accept it and you don't let people down.
yeah. No, listen, at the end of the day, what I tell everyone is like, I fully understand what it is to be in someone's shoes when they're buying a house and they're nervous and they're stressed out. And you know what? I don't take that lightly. Like, it's really like, you know what? If they're coming to me, is because they want that support, and you just have to be there. You just have to be there to help, and you got to do what you got to do. It's like kind of like when you have a little baby, you just got to do what you got to do.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What's your strategy for getting referral partners? Now that you understand this is a really big opportunity for you, do you have a game plan to go about it? And what have you tried that's worked really well?
Honestly, just simply now, what I'm going is, and I started doing this about 2 months ago, which is going back to all my transactions, making sure that I simply reach out to those agents
Mm,
that have dealt with me, and that, let's face it, we had a good experience. And it's as simple as asking for the business. You know, I try. I know it's I mean, I don't know how it is in other parts of the country. At least here in New Jersey, it's very competitive. It just feels like agents have 10, 20 loan officers after them. So it's very difficult to get to break into some of the teams, some of the brokers. So I'm really trying to I wouldn't say grow my referral, my real estate agent partners organically, but it's really like, okay, I'm gonna do what comes easy to me, and I'm gonna do what I'm good at, which is slowly chipping away, taking one step after another, making
yeah.
sure that I'm there for them. And there's going to be some people that, look, they don't want to deal with you for whatever reason, but
Mhm.
there's going to be some other people, which it actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago. A guy that, um, I've been after him for a while, and all of a sudden he had an issue. And you know what? I was able to help him. And now
Yeah.
there's two more referrals from him. So you never know when the right time is going to come. So
That's very true. It's like you have to be patient. Now, as we're talking about patient, I'm really curious. What does your ideal business look like? Like, let's say you snap your finger and you have your ideal business and ideal life. But let's focus on the business right now. Give us numbers. What does it look like? How much volume you're doing? How many people are you working? Where is your business coming from? All of that.
I mean, my goal, it's, I want to get to $40 million,
Okay.
and but do it not just do it in a way where, actually to be profitable. Because let's face it, there's ways to do $40 million and not make as much money, right?
Yeah.
But to be profitable and to do $40 million where I'll have 15 solid real estate agents, where I have 10 solid financial advisors,
Hmm.
and where I'm involved in the community, getting referrals from the community. So, so yeah, it's sometimes I see huge numbers out there all the time where like these guys put up like it's amazing. I don't know. Let's put it this way. I don't know if I want to ever do like $100 million, because I think that would just drive me crazy. But yeah, I think $40 million, when I do my math and everything, I'm like, you know what, $40 million, that would be a nice goal to see. I'm sure once I get there, I'll keep going, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
40 million, I will say, like, depending on loan sizes, if you're in Springfield, Missouri, like where your loan size is like 200,000, 40 million is a lot of business.
Yeah.
If you're on either coast, 40 million isn't that many deals. It's like 5 a month realistically.
Mhm.
So it's more manageable, but at 40 million, it's like amazing income, an amazing work-life balance, especially if the business is built right. Meaning, like you said, 10 financial advisors, 10 realtors, and a community that really just trusts you and comes to you. You can have an amazing time doing 40 million a year.
Yeah. And the other thing too, having the team and the support to be able to just uh, submit a loan, and I would never say forget about it, but be confident that you don't have to step in all the time.
It's true.
From the,
Do you have a team
having
right
a,
now?
what was that?
Do you have a team right now?
Yeah, so I have obviously a processor, and I have a part-time assistant.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah. How does the part-time assistant work?
So right now the part-time assistant, we're basically, you know, just working anywhere from 10 to 20 hours. And what I have her do is mostly do the follow-ups on the document. So I'll go ahead and talk to a client. I'll just say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Boom, send a group message. They're gonna go ahead and do the documents, put together the application, and all that stuff that sometimes I just honestly I don't like doing.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's just time consuming. Where if I have to call a customer and explain, by the way, I deal a lot with the Hispanic community. So the Hispanic community requires a lot of attention and a lot of explaining. Doesn't matter how much knowledge they have, they just want that. So it helps to have somebody who's going to say, okay, this is why we need a W-2 from 2 years ago. This is why we need two statements and a deposit and all these things. That sometimes it just takes a while if I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so how many leads are you generating right now that your assistant's working on data document collection mainly?
I would say on a good week, well, for the month, it's about 20 to 25, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. And you have a CRM, you track everything. Do you do the follow-up, or if like the follow-up to have the first conversation and get the application, or does at a certain point your assistant also step in and do that for you?
So I always call first. I let my assistant only step in when we're already clear that we're moving forward towards an application.
Okay.
So so yeah, before that, when I'll go ahead and say, okay, this is what we're gonna need there, they feel comfortable. That's when my assistant steps in. She'll go ahead and take care of all the of everything that has to do with the application documents, etc. She'll let me know, okay, this is ready for you to analyze it. And then I'll go ahead and take a look at it, have the phone call, and from there we'll just take it.
Amazing. How did you feel when you were hiring your first assistant? Because it is such a big step, but so important in growing your business.
So I was scared, and I think I don't know if you remember, but I called you in August,
I
and
remember.
I was like, hey Sam, I need some help, and because so May, June, July, and really the first couple of weeks of August, it was trash. I was absolute trash. I don't know what I was doing, but like basically just it was like overnight the business just completely disappeared, and it was just a struggle. And then all of a sudden it was like the phones just kept ringing, and I got to a point where I was like, oh my god, like I just in a matter of 2 weeks I got 10 loans, and
Mhm.
I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, like I have all these things now. pushed to do that myself. Then around September, I was like, look, I don't want this to be a one-time, a good one good month. I need to just go ahead and keep pushing through it. And I was like, okay, let me just, I have to spend the money. Let me just get somebody who I fully trust.
Yeah.
And I was able to get somebody who has helped me in the past. And right now it's about 20 hours, but who knows, maybe more.
How do you go about training your assistant for the next role that you want them to take on? So right now she's doing mainly one thing. What's the next thing you want to give her, and how are you training her for that?
So it just, I actually relied on my wife. My wife has experience managing a lot of people, and I'm taking it step by step. Like right now, I'm comfortable with her doing pre-approvals
Yeah.
and sending out pre-approvals and actually talking to agents. So I made a list of all the activities that I don't like to do and that
Good.
take me a lot of time, and I'm basically just going one by one to the point where I'm like, okay, here it is. I'll work with you on this, and then okay, you show me that you're good enough, and then you can go ahead and do it on your own, which is tough. Like I say, it's tough, especially for me because I'm so big on the customer experience that it scares the hell out of me when somebody is actually doing the work that I'm supposed to do. But
Well, I want to give you a kudos real quick because we were talking about how you take such responsibility for people that like trust you and like ask you to help them. Here you have an assistant and you're training her up slowly but really well. You're not like a lot of loan officers I know, and I have made this mistake myself. We kind of just give responsibility without like making sure the other person is ready or being there for when they make a mistake, because they will inevitably make a mistake. But what I appreciate about you is that you're starting with the slow stuff that doesn't affect the client experience, that doesn't affect the outcome for people, where you can still really make sure that you fulfill your responsibility. And now you're taking it to the next step of like, all right, here's the next thing I want you to get ready. But again, you're doing it slowly and methodically so the client experience stays really high.
yeah, no, and I also have to say my processor helps a lot because we
Okay.
have, I make sure that we are always going back and forth, and that, look, one thing even before I brought her in, I started teaching her about, hey, these are the situations. This is how I want you to handle, somebody giving you pushback. This is how I want you to handle how to, when somebody has a lot of questions that maybe you might not be able to answer. So that was really the main focus, and still it is, which is like, hey, I just need somebody with more than anything just to provide great customer service. Because let's face it, I still make mistakes myself. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's simple. So but as long as you're able to give that great client experience, look, we'll fit it in the back.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's the loan work can be taught.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of trial and error and learning from mistakes. I want to go back into how you get business and how you grow your business. What's the biggest challenge you faced in your business? Like one problem that you just had a really hard time solving.
Just dealing with emotions, really.
Hmm.
I don't know if you play golf. I play a lot of golf, and yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. But I sales is like golf, where sometimes you'll go ahead, you'll make a birdie, you're like, oh my god, I really have my game today, and you get way too excited,
Hmm.
and then you just let things fall apart. So that's really the biggest challenge, where it's like how do you go from this and just keep it? I want to be more consistent, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm really focused on. Like I don't listen. It's great if I just go ahead and have a $5-6 million month, but if then the next month I just have nothing, I don't know if that's the right thing to go about it. It just
Is that
so it's
current struggle that you have, or is it something you had before that you've solved?
So that's a struggle that I had, and I feel, and I say I feel because I go back and say, it's really the last couple months, and I don't want to get too cocky, but yeah, I think I solved it by making sure that I just stick to what brings me business all the time. So it's like issues will come up. Just focus on keeping that number of loans in the pipeline at all times and just keep replenishing it. And
Yeah.
that has really helped me for the past really 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it's good. It's all about process. I've worked with hundreds of loan officers, and the biggest problem for loan officers is exactly that emotional high and the emotional low. The highs are really high and the lows are really low, and you can feel both of them in the same day. And the real problem I noticed is that the trigger for like struggle and having a low emotion is actually not that high. Like it can just be one loan going bad and it can undo all of the good positive stuff that goes on because the stakes are so high. Stakes are very high. But what I've seen work across the board is just like that process driven. Like, hey, I touch my files every day. I communicate every day. I do my Instagram messages every day. I upload my content. So it's like, hey, no matter how I feel, I'm gonna do these things. And after a certain time, I see loan officers are just so routine that the emotion, they just kind of become numb to it. They know that if they stick to their process, everything works out.
Yeah, no, I mean, good thing that you mentioned about the Instagram. Uh, I just started doing. I started using a company, Maze Marketing. Couple of guys that have been great for me, which is like, we're planning the social media well in advance, and I'm just basically letting them go and hey, just post it. We'll
Yeah.
have certain topics and certain things that I want them to focus on, and I kind of just outsource that because since I work a lot within my circle, um, my Instagram account is huge just to keep them,
Mhm.
let them know that hey, I am here. So it's not, I don't really get leads, random leads, but anytime I start posting and I'm consistent, it just everything comes because it's like
And
hey, that high school friend that you had, hey Danny, listen, I've been looking to buy a house and I want to know what I need to do. So yeah, it's a really, I mean, I'm as I think more than anything, just I have started thinking more like a CEO as opposed to just a loan officer because it's yeah, it's for the long run. That's what you need to do in order to be successful in this business. Yeah.
very much so. It is your business. Like it's
Hmm.
very much business. You're just wearing all the hats of the big until you grow. We're coming up on time. I have one question for you. If you could flip a button and all your ideal financial advisors and realtors know this one thing about you the moment you start talking to them, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, the one thing, I'm accountable. I'm always accountable. I never disappear. I'm always there.
They
Yeah,
can always rely on you.
they can always rely on me. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah,
Amazing.
that's the
That's
biggest
a
thing.
good answer. I did not think you would give that answer. That's really good. Okay. And
Yeah,
can loan officers reach out to you?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, I tell people, I'm growing, and definitely, am I absolutely the best out there? No. Do I have the desire to keep growing and to do something special? Yes. And if there's anybody out there that feels like maybe I can help, why not? Let's do it. I'm always open to meeting other people. I'm always open to being able to help. And you know what? Vice versa. I'm always looking for that person who's going to be able to help me too. So you got to be open to it, both ways here.
Amazing. What's the best way for loan officers to contact you?
So you guys can contact me at my phone number, which is 908-943-5270. But really, Instagram. I'm very big on Instagram. If you guys go to Ariza Mortgage, on my Instagram, or on LinkedIn as well, Danilo or Ariza. Look, you send me a message. I always answer those things. Always.
Okay. Perfect. And on Instagram, it's ARIZA Mortgage.
Mortgage, yeah.
It will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you very much for having me, Sam. This was great. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you a lot more in the future.
Yes. Have a good one.
Thank you.